I made the decision to quit something this week that I'd planned to do this year, and I don't view it as failure. Let me explain why. So, 10 years ago, I did my first triathlon. And since it's going to be a 10-year anniversary, about 6 months ago, I was like, oh, do you know what? It might be really cool to kind of like revisit that because that journey of doing my first triathlon is a big part of my story as to how I got my life, my business to where it is now. And along the way, along the last couple of months, I just haven't been feeling it. And so many times, I think when we have particular goals that we want to be achieving or working towards, that if we decide to change our mind or we quit, or that we give up on them, we view it as a failure. And I'm here to tell you that it's not always the case. It's not always failure to give up on a goal or a dream, because I think sometimes it has to go back to, did we actually really want to do that thing that we are I think because it comes back to, did we really want to do that thing we were planning to do, and why? So when I'm working with people and helping them set goals, whether it's like weight loss or their nutrition planning for an event or whatever the case may be, I think often we allow shoulds, or we allow external environments or external people's thoughts or beliefs influence why we actually decide to do something. And I think looking back for me, that was a little bit of the case for myself when I was thinking about the triathlon. So like, don't get me wrong, like I love triathlon as a sport. I raced triathlon for 2 years, and it was a really critical part of my life, my healing, going post-divorce, having something to work forward to, having something specifically to train and to focus on while I was establishing where I wanted my life to go as I was creating a whole new chapter of my life. But after that 2-year period, I think when I was assessing what I was doing and what I wanted to do, what I realized is that the running for me, just, it didn't bring joy, it didn't bring enjoyment. And whereas the swimming and cycling, like I grew up as a swimmer, I swam competitively when I grew up in Zambia, and I love swimming. So swimming comes quite easily to me, and cycling, I've learned to love cycling. That also comes quite easily to me. Running, however, I've never had a dopamine hit when it comes to run. Like I will run for coffee. I run occasionally to meet people, or I run with friends, and I run with people that I want to run to. But I've never once had that desire, like, oh, I can't wait to go for a run. Maybe if I'm in the mountains. I think when I'm usually in the altitude camps for a couple of weeks a year. And in those situations, I usually don't get to take my bike with me, and I'll often go running, but it's more like a trail run. But that might be a one month, once a year sort of scenario. And then I'm quite happy to not have to run for another 6, 12, 18 months or whatever it is, unless someone forces me to run with them or run with coffee. And so I think when I was thinking back as to, I'd signed up for this triathlon here in Mallorca, an Olympic triathlon. And so my first, if I go back 10 years ago, freshly divorced, looking for something to, I guess, to look forward to focus on my attention, my energies. And triathlon had always been on my to-do list. I've been talking about it for probably at least 10 years. And my counselor at the time was like, well, what's stopping you? I was like, such a good question, such a good point. Like me, I'm the only thing that's stopping me. And I was really motivated in that moment because it was for me. It was for my enjoyment. It was almost like questioning, like, is this possible? Like, can I do this? Because I had so many limitations on what I could or couldn't do, especially when it came to running. Like, I was like, oh, can I do a half marathon? Can I do a marathon? Like, I don't know. Like, this is a completely unknown. And part of that journey was the testing what I'm capable of and testing what I want to do. And I think finding a community of people that I trained with and that I raced with was really important for that, to help bring the motivation. But I remember with the running, like, I just only ran when I was like forced to, or a coach sort of gave me a specific training plan, or with the club that I trained with, I would run with those training clubs. And I enjoyed that in that particular moment, but running on my own just never did it for me. And so I think coming back to where I am now, like, as I said, I trained and I raced triathlon for 2 years. I absolutely loved it. I did Olympic, then a sprint, I did a sprint, then an Olympic, then a half Ironman, and then a couple other half Ironmans, and then full Ironman the year later in 2016, 2015, 2016. So it was like 10 years ago since I did my first triathlon. And so about 6 months ago, like, I came across the Mallorca Sprint triathlon that they've got here. And I was like, oh, that'll be quite fun. I've been and watched the Mallorca 70.3 a couple of times, and I'm always like caught up in the energy, and it's so inspirational and so inspiring, because I think so many limitations we put on ourselves are like, oh, I could never do that. I could never do that. And I'm like, well, of course we can. If we put our minds to it, we have that goal, we have the focus, and we have the why. And I think that why is so important. Like I remember the first time I watched the guys that I was training with in England doing Ironman, because I'd never thought like, oh, I could never do that. I could never do that. And I rode out there to watch them and cheer them on. And it was so inspiring seeing all these people from all shapes and sizes and ages doing this massive event. Like who cares what number it is? Like I think obviously if you want to be at the pointy end, then yeah, the time sort of matters. But if you're doing it for an achievement or for your own personal benefit, then it's a completely different mindset and goal. And that I think was a big part to play as to how and why I then did my Ironman. I think actually just to like tick off a box of something I'd always said that I wanted to do. But then what I realized, like after I did the Ironman, was that I'm like, nah, I just don't like the running. Like I love the cycling, I love the time trialing, love swimming, but just running just doesn't do it for me. And so I haven't done a triathlon since 2016. And then end of last year, I was watching some of the racing that was going on here in Mallorca. And I had a bit of a thought like, oh, do you know what? It'd be kind of cool to do another triathlon, to kind of like celebrate like what I've gone through and where I've been through. And in my mind, I thought, yeah, I'll train for it. I'll do the training. Mind you, like the last, probably from August till December last year, 2024, I was going probably once a week to a run club and a group that were running. It's very early for me in Spain, 7:30 in the morning. Like usually my wake up time, and it's the start run time for the group. So it's beautiful because you get to run along the waterfront in Palma and there's the sunrise. And I really enjoyed it for the social element and the coffee afterwards. But I found that I didn't enjoy the running as much. So I almost like would actually prefer just to kind of like wake up, go for a bike ride, and then meet them for coffee afterwards. It just kind of completely misses the point of a run club if you don't actually want to run in the run club. So I haven't really been for a run since maybe I think I went for a run the 1st of January, but that's about it. I haven't been for a run in at least 4 or 5 months. And I was kind of like assessing this triathlon that I've got signed up to in a couple of weeks. I haven't been for a swim. I haven't done any runs. And like, yeah, I could probably just like wing it and I'd be fine and I would feel it from the runs. Like when I go back to like my why, I realize like I don't care. Like it's not important to me. And the reason I would be forcing myself on making my do it is for the approval of others, or it's almost like a show off thing of like, look what I did. And where ultimately I'm like, that doesn't motivate me, and that doesn't it doesn't inspire me to go and do it. It's not the image or the traits, personality traits, the characteristics that I want to be portraying out there. Like I think when it comes to sport and exercise, it's like there's so many different sports out there. Find ones that you love and things that you enjoy doing and that you can build into your life in whatever way possible. And rather than like forcing yourself to do something that you don't enjoy doing, which is unsustainable. And that's why for me, triathlon was unsustainable, because there was other things that I wanted to do. And I mean, I loved triathlon. The 2 years that I did it, I loved the training, I loved the racing. But for me, the running just took up so much of my time, so much of my energy, so much that I just didn't have the time or the capacity or to put into the cycling that I really loved. Like I get on the bike, I get all the dopamine, I'm all super happy and joyful. And running was like, okay, tick the box, I did it, cool, whatever. And I don't think that's sustainable, and it's not realistic for a lot of people. And I find like, I think if you had some particular goals for yourself for this year, I mean, we're 5 months into the year already, and so many people give up on their goals or their dreams because they get distracted, or maybe they've put too many things on their plate, or their goals were unrealistic and they didn't get clear on their why. I've talked about in a previous episode before about how important it is to recognize your why and to recognize like and understand what is motivating you and why it's important for you to do the things that you do. And for me, having just assessed that and reviewed that, I really do try to practice what I preach and apply reflective practice into everything that I do. Obviously not perfect about that, but it's assessing like what's working, what isn't working, what am I going to change? And I've realized like there's no point me putting all this energy and headspace into something that ultimately I don't want to do. And so I've made the decision to quit. I'm not going to do the triathlon in a couple of weeks' time. I'll probably ride out there to support a few people that I know that might be racing it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm not going to see it as a loss. And I'm not too worried about the fact that I didn't show up and I didn't do it, because ultimately, I know that I will enjoy so much more going on a 100K or 150K or 250K ride with some of my mates instead. That will give me so much joy and happiness in my life. And that's realistic. I think when it comes to exercise, when it comes to nutrition, it's like making changes and doing things that are realistic, that we enjoy, rather than like punishing ourselves and forcing us. Because anytime we do that punishment, it's not really going to last. So that's my some thoughts that I've been having the last couple of weeks, and I thought it would be some food for thought for you about things that sometimes quitting isn't a failure. That's all for today. Like, subscribe, feel your ride, and I'll see you next time.